Today I'm going to go over my topic, education, the educational system in America today. I'm going to talk about where America ranks as far as education in regards to the rest of the world, why we're ranked in that specific area, and where we are now. So PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment, did an assessment on 63 countries. 63 different countries. They studied 15-year-olds in the disciplines of science, mathematics, and let's go to science and mathematics. Out of 63, the U.S. ranked 35th. So what are some reasons why we might have ranked there? The author Tony Wagner, in the book Making the Grade, stated that the U.S. Educational system has changed the least out of every institution in America today. One example for this would be the Carnegie Unit. The Carnegie Unit was developed in 1906, and it basically measures the amount of time needed that a child would spend studying a certain subject in high school. So for instance, if a student spent 120 hours studying a certain subject for 1 year, that may equal 1 unit. So 12 units would equal the amount a student needs to graduate high school. This information would be compiled and sent out to college. So can anybody else think of something that was created in the turn of the last century, utilized by millions, and has changed little, if not at all? 1900s, anybody? Anything? I had trouble finding something too. I googled something. It was the chocolate syrup they use for ice cream. A little hard to. It's delicious, but I guess the ingredients have stayed the same. I'm sure the manufacturing process has drastically changed since it was created. So 50 years ago, 20% of high school students, high school graduates, were expected to go to college. Those students would become doctors, lawyers, and corporate executives. The next 20% would go right out of college, right out of high school graduates, and go into skilled professions such as accountants, technicians, and managers. The bottom 60% would become farmers and work in factories, which at the time was perfectly fine. The economic stability, economic climate, in America at the time supported and provided a significant wage for somebody in these professions as a farmer or factory worker. With these numbers, a tracking of grouping and ability was created. 50 years later, many middle-class schools, high schools, still utilize the same tracking method, although the economy requires a much higher percentage of college graduates. By the year 2020, 123 million American jobs will be high skilled and high paying, although there will only be 50 million Americans to fill them. In 1996, the Coleman Report reported on a dysfunctional educational system. The Coleman Report established, it showed how there was a disconnection in showing how lower income students were getting a different education from higher income students, and how America was on the verge of creating two radically different educational systems. 17 years later, the National Commission of Excellence in Education made a report called The Nation at Risk. They alerted America of a rising tide of mediocrity. They stated, if an unfriendly foreign power had attempted to impose on America the mediocre educational performance that exists today, we might as well have viewed it as an act of war. More than 4 decades have passed. The No Child Left Behind Act was put in place and billions of dollars were thrown at the issue, although there still remains an issue at hand. So, economic costs of failing schools are enormous. For example, in Pennsylvania, 68% of the prison inmates are high school dropouts. So the amount of money that it cost to house one of these prison inmates, they could have been sent to school through 1st to 12th grade and still had about $25,000 left over for college. The average college graduate, this is you guys, is 73% more likely, or excuse me, makes 73% more in their lifetime versus someone that never went to college. The Alliance for Excellent Education did an assessment and determined that the 1.2 million students that should have graduated with the class of 2008 but didn't will cost the nation over $319 billion over the course of their lifetime. In 1970, the US produced 30% of the world's college graduates. Today, we only produce 15%. So in an attempt not to be too persuasive, my informative speech, I told you about where America ranks as far as education in the world, talked about why they're at that ranking, and where we are today. So I hope that informed you a little bit about the education system in America, maybe help you make a decision for your family members, maybe someday your family in the future. Thank you.